Monday, the 23rd day of June, 25, and it's 10 o'clock. That means, of course, that trading has opened for the day on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange in Lagos, Abuja, and at the Onyia Exchange. Of course, a day of business has begun long ago in the area. For those in Abia, here in Enugu, wherever you are, morning to you, Nnamdi Obanya, and you're welcome to the Afia Business Morning. On the Business Morning, we're talking about the impact of cash for jobs on job seekers in the region. Bende local government is chasing investors, plus all the business from around the region. And of course, you know, trading on the exchange is open for today. The exchange in London open an hour ago. New York exchange is yet to open, while the exchange is opened at 2 a.m. local time. We'll be looking at how the markets closed on Friday on opening bell, as well as news from around the region on the Eastern Business Reports. But first, the Afia News Update.
Hello and welcome to the news update. I'm Joan Odiniwo. The news update in Enugu, where Governor of the state, Dr. Peter Mbaz, inaugurated a management board for the protection of state-owned social homes, reaffirming his government commitment to caring for the vulnerable in the state. Moving on to the South region, where the paramount ruler of the Calabar South local government area, Etumbong Uyong Efyum, has warned uncertificated village and clan heads in the area, especially in Efut, against the double sale of land to different persons, warning that his country will no longer tolerate such illegal activity, as anyone caught will be made to face the full wrath of the law. Meanwhile, in Abuja, the Senate Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution is set to organize a comprehensive two-day zonal public hearing in the country's 6 geopolitical zones to gather Nigerians' input on a proposed constitutional amendment. On the foreign scene, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on Sunday condemned U.S. attack on key nuclear site as outrageous and said his country has a right to defend its sovereignty. And finally, in the update, Nigerian sprinter Favour Fili has requested to switch her international allegiance to Turkey, citing repeated administrative failures by the Athletics Federation of Nigeria and the Nigerian Olympic Committee. And that's what you have on the news update. Do also look on our social media platforms at Afia TV Official. I'm Joan Odiniwo. Many thanks for watching.
This is the Afia Business Morning, broadcasting live on Afia TV, channel 254 on DSTV, 17 on GoTV, and of course 748 on Free TV from the beautiful coast city. If you don't know where that is, it's Enugu. My name is Nnamdi Obanya. The NGX ended last week on a high, but it's mixed readings with mostly dips in London, China, and the US. Plus, today we make a case for the Transmission Company of Nigeria. Why? Stay tuned to find out. Opening bell starts right now. This is opening bell on the Afia Business Morning. The Nigerian Stock Exchange closed on a high on Friday, but it's mixed readings with mostly dips in London, China, and the US. We'll be looking at how the markets ended as well as our commodities report. But first, let's take some news stories, beginning with news from the economy, where we learned that the United Kingdom has reiterated that 99% of Nigerian exports will continue to enjoy duty-free access under its developing countries trading scheme as a show of commitment to ensure that UK-Nigeria economic growth remains strong. This was disclosed by the British High Commission in Nigeria in a post on its official X handle late last week, where it also stated, quote, "Our commitment to UK-Nigeria economic growth remains strong." The Post also stated that Nigerian exporters can continue to benefit from the UK's Developing Countries Trading Scheme, which is designed to boost trade with developing countries by cutting tariffs, removing conditions, and simplifying trading rules in order to support their development, while offering 99% duty-free access on goods. Staying with the economy, and the federal government of Nigeria has decried the persistently low levels of trade between West African nations, lamenting that despite decades of regional integration efforts, intra-African trade continues to languish below 10%. This was revealed over the weekend by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, while speaking at the West Africa Economic Summit in Abuja, where she also described the situation as a case of fragmented markets and underutilized opportunities in the region. Oduwole emphasized Nigeria's renewed commitment to Pan-African economic integration through the African Continental Free Trade Area and called on governments across the sub-region to adopt bold reforms and invest in trade-enabling infrastructure. From modern ports and logistics corridors to digital platforms, all that powers seamless commerce. And finally, from the securities market, where borrowing costs for the Nigerian US dollar denominated bonds declined in the international markets as foreign investors opened and closed positions across African issuers and rated sovereign assets. The average yield on Nigerian euro bonds, however, declined to near 9% amidst expectations that the government will ramp up borrowing from external markets in the second half of the year. Nigeria's US dollar bonds have seen sharp demand from foreign portfolio investors since the country's successful exit from the IMF debt list in Q2, with the average yield reflecting renewed optimism about the current market conditions and hope of economic recovery in the Nigerian economy. Okay, let's dive straight to index. On Friday, closed on a high, rising by 0.24%, a gain of 277.09 points, to close at 118,138.2 points. A total of 522,812,440 shares, valued at 19,684,225,036 naira and 14 kobo, were traded across 17,706 deals, with equity capitalization of 74,533,595,580. 9,474 naira and 50 kobo. Biggest gainer of the day was Legend Int, which rose by 10%, while other gainers were Ella Lakes, Champion, Guinea Insurance, and E-Transact. On the other hand, Solar Assurance topped the losers list with a decline of 8.62%, while other losers were Nigerian Flour Mills, Thomas Y, Livestock, and NEM. Straight to the floors of the New York Stock Exchange, where it's mostly all dips in index values across board. The NYSE Composite is down by 0.16%. The 100 Index is down by 0.09%. Dow Jones Industrial Average, the singular one to go up, it's up by 0.8%. The S&P 500 Index is down by 0.22%. NYSE FANG and TM Index is down by 0.95%. Nasdaq Composite down by 0.51%. And the Nasdaq 100 is down by 0.43%. And onto the floor of the London Stock Exchange, and again this time it's almost all dips. FTSE 100 down by 0.2%. FTSE 250, the singular rise, it's up by 0.35%. The FTSE 350 is down by 0.13%. And the FTSE All-Share Index is down by 0.11%. Moving on to China and onto the floor of the Shenzhen Exchange, and it's all dips. The Shenzhen component is down by 0.47%. SZSE Composite is down by 0.67%. The Chinex Index is down by 0.83%. And staying in China, but this time on the floor of the Shanghai Exchange, and it's a mix of rises and dips. The SSE Composite is down by 0.07%. SAC 50 is up, by 0.31%. Star 50 down by 0.53%. SSE 180 up by 0.1%. SSC 380 down by 0.47%. And the CSI 300 Index is up by 0.09%. We'll go on a very quick break. Come back. We'll be looking at our commodity prices as well as our consumer price watch in the open market. I'll be defending the transmission company of Nigeria. Opening bell. We'll be right back. Nnamdi Obanya, welcome back to Opening Bell on the Afia Business Morning, showing on Afia Television, channel 254 on DSTV, 17 on Go TV, and 748 on Free TV, live from Coal City. Now it's time to check out our commodity prices, and we begin with our precious metals. And of course, as is every Monday, there's no movement on gold and indeed any of the precious metals. So moving straight to energy prices. Natural gas is down by 2.01%. Coal is down by 0.34%. Brent crude is down by 1.80%. Still trading above $75 per barrel, trading at $77.32 per barrel. Bonnie Light over 300 days. We're up to about 306 days now, 307 of no action of Bonnie Lights. Brass River is down by 0.39%. Kwaibo also down by 0.39%. Mistake on screen graphics. Trading above $75 per barrel, also trading at $79.04 per barrel. That's Brass River. Kwaibo trading at $79.09 per barrel. Industrial metal prices now, and aluminum is up by 0.9%, lead is down by 0.08%, copper up by 2.16%, nickel down by 0.54%, zinc up by 0.65%, and tin is up by 0.62%. All right, let's take a look at our commodity prices. But in the open market, of course, there have been some drops in price for food and some essentials, but rises in others. But we also have new hikes for prices in fuel after some, brief respite in the last few weeks. But bag of rice in Enugu still going for an average of 94,000, about 84,000 on the average. Lagos averaging 65,000, Abuja averaging about 70,000. Those are the price ranges of which you'll find the 50 kg rice. The 4-liter basin, or one pinta, as people like to call it, going for as high as 10,000. Enugu much higher than the average. Bag of beans going for about 65,000 naira. The 4-liter basin, the one pinta, going for about 6,000 naira. Lagos marginally lower. Gari as high as 90,000. Places like Enugu on the higher end. 4-liter basin going for about 3,000 to 3,500. Lagos moderately cheaper. Some places Gari going as high as 100,000. Would you believe that? Gari. Yam prices going for between 4,000 to 6,000 naira. Southeast averaging about 5,000. Enugu higher than the southeast average. Abuja, one of the places with the lowest prices, of course, proximity to places where there are large yam cultivation sites. Even in Abuja, the Gwari areas, in Nasarawa and other surrounding areas. Plantain prices, of course, directly related to urban versus agrarian communities, averaging between 6,000 and 12,000 naira nationwide, between 8,000 and 12,000 in the southeast, even though the larger bunches do go as high as 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 naira in such places. Cooking oil prices remain steady for a while. Palm oil still going for about 10,000 naira for 5 liters and about 50,000 for 25 liters. Lagos much higher than the national average. Groundnut oil prices between 15,000 and 18,000 for 5 liters, between 40,000 and 60,000 naira for 25 liters. Lagos and Enugu on the higher end of the price scale. Vegetable oil prices, direct mirror reflection of groundnut oil prices, and again, Lagos and Enugu being the higher end of the price scale. All right, moving on to fuel prices, and just last week, fuel was going for between 900 and 930 in the southeast. It's now pushing between 950 and 980, averaging somewhere around 955 naira in the southeast. Lagos between 925 and 950. A lot of places in Lagos you'll get 925. A lot of places in Enugu you'll get 950. So petrol prices are up. Diesel prices are also slightly down in Enugu, between 1,120 and 1,200. That's average within the southeast is between 1,150 and 1,200. Lagos between 992 and 1,050. Kerosene prices steady nationwide between about 1,000 and 1,150. Lagos marginally lower on the higher end, but marginally higher on the lower end. Cooking gas prices ranging from about 1,100 to about 1,200 in Lagos, southeast between 1,160 and 1,200, as high as 1,300 in places like Abia and some other parts of the southeast. Of course, we'll have a special commodity report from Nsukka on the impact of the rising fuel prices on the Eastern Business Reports later on the Business Morning. You don't want to miss that. But one final break on Opening Bell, and when we come back, why am I defending a company that I call the SI unit of incompetence and mismanagement? Find out when Opening Bell returns. You're still on to the Afia Business Morning, and you're welcome back to Opening Bell on Channel 254 DSTV, of course on GoTV Channel 17, 748 on Free TV. We're also streaming live on YouTube. You can check us out at Afia Business on YouTube. My name is Nnamdi Obanya. If you have forgotten, well, the national grid has failed. How many times have we heard that? Too many for a country that is not at war and has no natural disasters. So why am I defending the main culprits in the grid failure saga? Well, let's get into it. Many of us are familiar with the discos. They are the ones we interface with every day, from making us wait till the trumpet sounds for our meters, to providing estimated billing that makes you wonder if you're operating a pure water factory in your one-bedroom flat, to coming to disconnect every AK market day, while suddenly becoming unavailable when it's time to repair transformers. Yes, we all know the discos. But how many of us really know how power gets to our homes beyond the discos? Well, let's do a simple breakdown. The discos, which is short for distribution companies, are responsible for last-mile distribution of electricity to homes, offices, factories, schools, churches, event arenas, and so on. They are just electricity traders. They are hawkers. They have a shop and they sell electricity. Your meter is basically like a phone that they load with credit to push electricity into your home. Finish. So whether it's AEDC, Main Power, Abia in the southeast, or Bendek in the south-south, AEDC in Abuja, Ibedek in the southwest, or EKDC and IKEDC in Lagos, they are nothing but traders. They don't generate the electricity. That falls on the generating companies, or GENCOs for short. They generate electricity either through hydroelectric power from turbines in dams or on rivers, or from gas, or even in the old days like we had at Ijora in Lagos and Uji River in Enugu, from coal. A few notable ones are Geregu Power, the Egbein Power Station, Transcorp Power, Sapele, GENCO, Kainji Jeba, Shiroro, and so on. So how do the GENCOs send power to the discos? They do this through a nationwide network of cables, towers, feeder stations, transmission stations, high-tension installations that crisscross Nigeria as part of one gigantic web we call the national grid. So when you hear the grid has collapsed, it's not your discos or your GENCOs. It is this network, which is owned and managed by the transmission company of Nigeria. Now, before the privatization and unbundling of Nigeria's power into these three segments, power was completely handled across the entire value chain by government in the cesspool of corruption that was then known as NEPA, the National Electric Power Authority. NEPA was so pathetic that we nicknamed it Never Expect Power Always. Later on, he changed name to PHCN, the Power Holding Company of Nigeria. But this too was equally pathetic, and we nicknamed it Please Hold Kano Nearby. Now, when the unbundling happened, both the license to generate and distribute went to private players. However, transmission under the TCN stayed in government hands, and unfortunately, the legacy of NEPA and PHCN followed it. Inefficiency, corruption, lack of maintenance culture, nepotism, and sectarian bias in appointments and promotions all still plague it today on a large scale. This, of course, led to the inevitable: a company that cannot run itself and is bedeviled by every problem you can imagine. So why am I defending them today? Well, for starters, they have their issues, but they have more problems than meet the eye. Let's start with this. The Transmission Company of Nigeria has repeatedly complained that vandals have remained a constant threat to providing consistent and stable electricity supply in Nigeria, and that they frequently attack critical transmission grid infrastructure across the country. Now, the TCN operates a very large transmission network comprising 111 330 kilovolt lines stretching 8,792 kilometers and 163 132 kV lines covering 7,933 kilometers, and these lines connect to 57 330, 132 and 33 kVA and 186, 132 and 33 kV substations nationwide, supported by 18,456 330 kV and 22,704 132 kV cars, I beg your pardon, with the grid static wheeling capacity at 8,700 megahertz. You can see all the infrastructure they have to manage and watch. Well, according to the General Manager, Technical Services of the TCN, Engineer Ali Sharifai, the attacks have become a major challenge for the company, with significant implications for electricity transmission to serve Nigerians. He claims that 42 acts of vandalism were recorded across his transmission network in the first and second quarters of 2025, which affected more than 178 towers nationwide. That's about 0.4% of all towers in just 6 months. That number is not small. Think of how many high-tension cables and complete areas were affected. He also disclosed that 2024 and 2025 have been the most difficult years for the TCN due to constant sabotage and damage of its facilities by non-state actors, stating that in 2024 alone, 86 towers were vandalized, with 26 completely destroyed, plunging several states into darkness. These incidents spanned Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, Bauchi, Enugu, Shiroro, Kano, and Port Harcourt regions. Now, the 2025 incidents, which saw the 42 separate vandalism incidents recorded in the first half of the year that affected 178 towers across the key regions, led to 17 attacks impacting 72 towers in Port Harcourt region, while Kaduna and Kano regions saw 35 and 29 towers affected respectively. Other regions hit were Abuja again, Enugu again, Lagos, Osogbo, and Shiroro again. So while I continue to criticize the TCN for the rot and corruption, you have to feel sorry for them having to cope with this level of vandalism. So I ask, who caused us? Who made us the type of people that are willing to destroy items of common good for personal benefit? The people vandalizing the infrastructure consist of those doing things like selling iron condemned, those who want to resell it to TCN through the back door, some corrupt officials, some political actors who want to, sabotage government in power, and people we should consider terrorists. Because not only are their actions expensive to the TCN and every taxpayer, but they're also to every Nigerian who has to cough up money for petrol or diesel, to run a generator, to run a home or business, to every life lost in a hospital due to no power, to mothers with spoiled food in the fridge, fathers with no light to run the barber shop, children with no light to read their books, police with no light to even surveil and protect the area. Now people are buying expensive solar solutions when public light is always the cheapest. It's unfortunate that our security agencies cannot get a lead on this, and the TCN cannot employ technology to track its equipment in real time. I will continue to knock inefficiency, but for today, I will give the TCN excerpt. For those who went to boarding house like me, you know what I mean. And of course, for those who went to the boarding house like universities, I'm not trying to shade Covenant or Babcock. But today, I'm giving TCN excerpt, and I'm going to say to all of us, if you see something, say something. Let us protect our Commonwealth. And I'll leave it at that. We'll go on a quick break as opening bell is done, but the business morning continues. Don't forget our opening bell will return tomorrow when the exchange is reopened for trading. You can also watch the Abia monologue on our YouTube page. Go to Afia TV official on YouTube and enjoy. When we come back on Afia Business Morning, what is the impact of cash for jobs on job seekers in the Southeast and South-South? We'll be answering that question with passionate educationist and CEO Educare, Mr. Alex Onyia, and trust me, you do not want to miss that. Afia Business Morning, we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the Afia Business Morning, and now it's time to hone in on the business environment in the Eastern region. And today we're taking a special commodity report from Nsukka. We're talking about the impact for cash for jobs on job seekers in the Southeast and South-South with passionate educationist and CEO Educare, Mr. Onyia. I assure you, you do not want to miss that. I'm Nnamdi Obanya, and this is the Eastern Business Report. This is the Eastern Business Network, where we look at the business ecosystem in the Eastern region, and today we'll be talking about the impact of cash for jobs on job seekers in the Southeast and South-South. But first, some regional news beginning in Abia, where the member representing Bende North constituency in the Abia State House of Assembly, Honorable Nnamdi Obanya, has said the constituency had become a fast-growing investors' haven. He said this over the weekend in Onyia after meeting with some rice farmers from the constituency, when he also urged entrepreneurs to buy into the opportunity, adding that the constituency is rapidly emerging as a magnet for investors and a beacon for hope and development across multiple sectors of the economy. Honorable Obanya further noted that such fronts would amplify the efforts of the government to boost the agricultural sector and lauded them for joining forces in serving as change agents within their localities, while also encouraging residents in the state to invest in agriculture, agro-allied venture value chains of small and medium-scale enterprises to boost the economy of the state. And personally, I think that's a good one from Honorable Obanya. It's nice to see members in the legislature of the state doing what they need to do. So kudos to him. Okay, I will move straight to Anambra, where a community leader in Awka, Anambra State Capital, Chief Tochukwu Nwokoye, has decried the decline of Uku First for the general home returning of traveling blacksmiths like medicine men who sojourned across southern Nigeria and parts of present north central zone of Nigeria to ply their trade. Nwokoye, who is the chairman of Awka Traditional Priest, recalled the region's rich blacksmithing history, praising two renowned technological geniuses, Sir David Numume of Umonga Village and Sir John Nsukka of Umogu Village, both in Agulu quarter of Awka, with the feat of creation and fabrication at Buckingham Palace in London, England. Nwokoye further lamented that the decline in the celebration of Uku Fest stemmed from the international conspiracy to keep not just Indigbo down, but also Awka after the production and use of Ogbunigwe during the 1967 to 1970 Nigeria-Biafra War, highlighting that the federal government equally sustained the anti-Igbo policy and ensured discouragement of Awka from pursuing master's apprenticeship schemes in blacksmithing. Now, for those who don't know, that Awka is a blacksmith, and you know, that area, whether it's Awka or Kuzu, all these areas are places where blacksmiths are known to operate. And of course, it's a business venture that's culturally entrenched in it, and it would be good to the government to maybe reverse that white elephant project called the Ajaokuta Steel Mill, come back to Onitsha as it was intended, close to the iron deposits, where the people who have generations of training in metallurgy can take over. Just some advice for the federal government. But we move to another government, and this time it's the Ebonyi state government, because the Ebonyi government says it has paid 150 million naira as counterpart fund for the establishment of the World Bank funded automated integration ranch system in the state. This was disclosed over the weekend in an interview with newsman in Abakaliki by Mr. Victor Nwite, the project coordinator, livestock productivity and resilience project, a World Bank assisted project, where it was also revealed that the state had also provided an enabling environment to ensure that the project is successfully executed. Nwite further stated that the project will be situated at Ezangbo in Ohaku local government area of the state, adding that the initiative was meant to transform the livestock sector by enhancing value addition and quality service. Now, while I praise the state government, it's also very important to remember that this issue of ranch, which divides people like no other. Who are the ranchers? Who's bringing the cattle? What is the land ownership status? Is this going to lead to new settlements? Are people going to feel invaded? There needs to be some sensitivity about how this is done. Are they going to be local indigenes who would undertake the ranching, or are we bringing people to come and do it from outside? We have to be very sure of who is coming, what they are coming to do, and prevent future clashes. We see now a lot of clashes stemming from improper arrangements like this from the past, and those who forget history, well, they're usually bound to repeat it. All right, moving straight to Imo State and the Owerri Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. OSIMA has urged the federal government to direct the Bank of Industry to establish a functional office in Imo State. This was stated by the president of OSIMA, Tony Amadi, who added that the office will ensure inclusivity and national development and enable industrialists in Imo State, as well as other entrepreneurs in other towns, to access the 75 billion naira intervention fund. Amadi, who commended President Bola Tinubu for the release of 75 billion naira intervention fund for the nation's entrepreneurs, also stated that he regretted a lack of BOI office in the state and which has made access to the intervention fund discouraging to many entrepreneurs, especially those in Imo State. Now, while I agree with him that every entrepreneur should be able to access the BOI, I'm not sure about having a BOI office everywhere. How much is the BOI given, and what is the overhead for operating a BOI office in the state? Staff, electricity bills, transportation, logistics, stationery, internet connection. Is it not better we have regional offices, or can we have an arrangement where maybe the state chambers of commerce fund the BOI office, because if so much money is spent on operating the BOI, how much is really left to give those who are coming to take loans and grants? How profitable is the BOI? How many of these loans are returned? These are issues that need to be addressed before we decide we want to have a BOI office everywhere. I see almost empty BOI offices in Enugu and everywhere else, hardly anybody coming in or going out, most people sending emails. So the question is, do we need to have BOI office, or can we have pop-up operations during periods when there are times for people to come and access things when they are available? That's my point. I mean, 75 billion intervention fund, great. But is that the reason to have a BOI office? How much of that 75 billion we spent on acquiring, leasing, or renting the property, preparing it for office use, employing the people who will come there, and operating it for the period that people of Imo will need to collect that money till the next one has come? These are the things we need to talk about and be honest. But I do feel that access to the BI, even if it's through temporary pop-up operatives, maybe in Government House, Ministry of Finance or somewhere, is something that the Bank of Industry may need to look into. And finally, let's move to Delta State, where we hear that operatives of the Nigerian Navy Forward Operating Base, Escravos, have deactivated 8 illegal refining sites at Obodo Madino in Warri Southwest local government area of Delta State. This was disclosed over the weekend by the commanding officer, FOB Escravos, Navy Captain Ikenna Okolagu, who also stated that the seized products were discovered in 2 locally fabricated ovens, 66 dugout pits, and 43 polythene sacks. The exercise, which was carried out in 3 different operations, led to the seizure of 20,710 liters of stolen crude oil and 3,225 liters of illegally refined AGO, while he also disclosed that the base arrested 3 suspects and seized 2 boats. Now, the frequency of illegal refineries being shut down in Delta, Rivers, and Bayelsa in particular is becoming alarming. But I think at this point, rather than going, destroying, burning, arresting, we need to go on some sort of, these are the people we really need to rehabilitate, because obviously, crudely, they have either stumbled upon or developed refining techniques. Maybe it's time to have a proper, really positive and effective amnesty program where we can train these people and have them even become trainers, and in those areas start setting up modular refineries, because obviously there is a need, and these modular refineries are cheaper and smaller. People doing hundreds of barrels a day, maybe even less than 100, but serving specific needs, maybe AGO, kerosene in a community and in an area, and maybe decentralize the provision of these things so that even the big refineries like Port Harcourt, Dangote can focus on larger scale supplies, and we can have these little small refineries which also help direct income for these areas, which are the oil producing areas. So you're developing the economy of these areas, and it's not just oil derivative money. These are what I think the government should be looking at, not just destroying, arresting, burning, and damaging the environment when these products are leaked into the nearby rivers and farms. Because how are they destroyed? You go and burn an illegal refinery. What are you doing? You're releasing soot into the atmosphere. You're releasing different hydrocarbons into the soil, into the water in the ground table. Let's be reasonable and let's properly address this. We'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a special report from Nsukka on rising fuel prices. And we'll also be talking to passionate educationist and CEO Educare, Mr. Alex Onyia, on the impact of cash for jobs or job seekers in the Southeast and South-South. And look, trust me, you do not want to miss this particular interview. The Eastern Business Report returns shortly.
About businesses within the southeastern part of Nigeria and of course the south region.
Formerly, yes, we were at Old Kenyatta and the Old Kenyatta was demolished. I cried. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to start from. I said, okay, I made up my mind to just push.
After my secondary school, so I want to go to university, but unfortunately, my parents don't have such money. So from there, I learned this business from my brother. One chocolate and I started with just 2,000 naira.
We started this business in a low cadre, but by the grace of God, at least we are moving.
After my retirement, I fall back into plumbing materials with the help of my wife.
All right, are you ready for the game segment?
Okay.
30 seconds to say your brand.
Yes, I'm ready. Let's go. This is Lighthouse Electric and Fitting. We are at New Kenyatta Market, Ugwaji.
Our phone number is 080-5424-1870.
These are plumbing materials, and this is cubicle for you. We have shower sets. I'm too into mattress and pillow. You can see them.
We specialize in electrical materials, surface, and conduits.
Anybody that want to buy plumbing materials has to come to my shop at Abuja line. Yeah, no. This is why I know.
as a social hub where people can come together to meet, greet, and socialize is an important part of the fabric of every community. And today, we are at Ekabani in the Kano West local government area.
The Kaban area.
I was born November 13, 1950. I'm 74 now. By November this year. So they can see where man. I hear at Dibago before I'm home. They have been on existence before I was born.
Even in Nigeria today, our oil is one of the best oil.
Every evening, you come here to get everything fresh.
This is the market.
The show is still the Eastern Business Report on the Afia Business Morning. I'm Nnamdi Obanya, and today we'll be joined by CEO Educare, Mr. Onyia. We'll be talking about the impact of cash for jobs on job seekers in the Southeast and South-South. But first, a special commodity report from Nsukka on the effect of rising fuel prices. Now, from busy markets to silent streets, a wave of frustration is sweeping across Nsukka. The culprit, a relentless surge in fuel prices that is squeezing transporters, emptying wallets, and threatening the very fabric of daily life. Avia TV correspondent Elijah Akumo brings us insights on the harrowing stories of those struggling to survive in the new economic reality.
Nsukka, a vibrant university town known for its entrepreneurial spirit and close-knit community, is facing an unprecedented challenge. The escalating cost of fuel is not just impacting vehicles, it is fueling a crisis that is touching every corner of the town, from the price of food in the market to the fares charged by Okada riders. The increase is hitting everyone hard. We spoke to residents and transporters to understand the depth of this crisis.
The cost of fuel in Nsukka is very disturbing. Fuel is the engine of everything in Nigeria. Whenever fuel is skyrocketed, every living is equally skyrocketed, especially transport, food, and so on. Like now, fuel is almost 1,000 per liter. They have equally increased in both food and transportation.
I went to the filling station 2 days ago and discovered that fuel is no longer, used to get it at 910 naira, 900 naira, 920 naira. But I went to the filling station to buy fuel. They told me that it's 1,000 naira. Some said 1,050 naira. Some said 950. I continued moving around to know what's happened and made the price to be going up again, because we're expecting it to be coming down. So the thing is very, very painful on us, and it makes the price of goods to be going higher and higher and higher and higher.
Markvin points to a key problem that the price of transportation directly affects the prices of goods in the market, creating a vicious circle for consumers. But this is not just impacting residents, it is devastating the transportation sector. Eze Nicholas, a local transporter, explained the challenges he is facing.
The current price of fuel in Nsukka doesn't have equal price in filling stations. Some are selling 980, some are selling 950, some. Only the NIPC is selling 900 in Nsukka as at now. So, and such is affecting us because if you are riding and carrying a passenger and tell them the price, they will not accept the price you told them. And once you don't get enough money, you can't get money for feeding your children, school and other things. So, and if you go to market, everything there is high because of transportation.
Like I'm standing now, I'm a bike man. I've not been making anything because of fuel scarcity. Towards last week, the price of fuel was full. Yesterday, it started from 900 to 930, from 900 to 980 naira per liter. Down there in a beach close to university, is 1,000 naira a liter. And we are living with the students. They find it difficult to go to school. They could start complaining. In terms of this, if you go to market, they add every other thing, food items escalating on daily basis. Even in a local restaurant, a plate of akpu, local district, is 1,000 naira without meat or fish.
The scarcity of fuel and the cost of faith is really affecting us. We, the poor masses. As a bike man, you know, like let me say, like 5 years ago, when I used 1,000 naira or 500 naira to buy fuel, I will run around almost the whole day. It will sell me almost the whole day. But now, if I buy fuel of 5,000 naira, it will not take me the whole day. Then how do you expect me to feed my family, pay my rent, and other things?
Oliver's story is a stark reminder that this crisis is not just about money. It is about the ability to provide for loved ones and maintain a decent standard of living. The voices of Nsukka are clear. This fuel crisis is a critical issue that demands immediate attention. While national policies and global market forces play a role, the local impact is undeniable. The hope is that the government will listen to the crisis of the people and find solutions that alleviate this burden and allow Nsukka to thrive once again. In Nsukka, Elijah Akuma, reporting for Afia TV.
Thank you for that report, Elijah. We hope the rise is temporary and will be followed by significant dips in prices. We also appeal to the NNPC, Dangote, everybody involved in pricing. What do we need to do to bring the price down? Do we need to sell more crude in Naira? Do we need to take my advice from earlier in the show and perhaps stop destroying local refineries and arresting people, but rather looking at how they acquire the technology, maybe train them properly and invest in modular refineries to, you know, increase supply to meet the demand so that we don't have a false scarcity of petroleum products in Nigeria and an unnecessary need to import crude because crude is not even meeting up to what we have in refineries. We also need to look at our crude. And dear Nigerians, can we stop vandalizing our pipelines? And Nigerian governments, can you please go back and invest in the actual extraction of crude from the ground? If JV partners are leaving, what is the government doing wrong? What does the government need to do? How can you put incentives to get more people investing in exploration of crude oil? Something has to be done. We can't have one of the world's largest reserves of crude oil and we have overpriced fuel nobody can afford, scarcity. We are always using our money to, we're using our crude to pay crude back loans because we cannot develop ourselves. We are the architects of a lot of our failures and we need to do something about that and do it very, very soon. We'll go on another break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by CEO Educare, Mr. Alex Onyia. We'll be talking about the impact of cash for jobs on job seekers in the Southeast and the South-South. The Eastern Business Report returns shortly. So it's still the Eastern Business Report on the Afia Business Morning, and of course I am Nnamdi Obanya. Now, job seekers in the Southeast and South face already mounting problems. Lots of before the even from lack of opportunity, region, inadequate educational system that post-graduation training just for them to be competent to issues like federal present another hurdle for government jobs and postings with merit, thrown out of the window and sacrificed on the altar of state of origin. Now, add to that the issue of monetary demands for employment. Simply put, cash for jobs. How do economically handicapped young people from poor backgrounds compete with wealthy members of the political and economic elite when it comes to securing jobs? And what can we do about this? I mean, is there this?
Can you hear me?
Very well, thank you. Good morning. Good to have you on the program.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Well, it's Monday, so we have the new week bounce, and we're hoping to get as far as we can.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant.
So, I mean, this thing you've been talking about, cash for jobs. Most people always see the corruption side of it, people exploiting the system, but every crime there's a victim. And in this case, it's the job seekers. First and foremost, just to give us a background, how deeply rooted is this cash for jobs issue? And is it restricted to just government agencies, or has it also taken roots deeply in the private sector?
From my understanding, first, it is deeply rooted in the public sector. Is deeply rooted in the public sector. Almost every public sector agency or organization is actually part of this. Then for the private sector, I think it's a highly infinitesimal. But I know it's deeply rooted in the public sector. And that is really, really, really bad. So for you to get a job in a federal agency, either you have a strong connection to a senator, governor, or you have to pay. So, which is extremely bad. That is one of the things that is a very big concern for me lately.
Now, we've seen reports in the past. We've heard them. At a point, I remember it was 250,000 to get into the Nigerian police force, customs, immigration. That was the word going around then. But now we're hearing of other places. Now the quote-unquote juicy parastatals and big institutions like the CBN, NMPC, NIMASA, Ports Authority, Shapers Council, places that have good packages. Are there any particular regions? Because I'm guessing, oil and gas, ports, shipping, but are there any areas in the public sector that seem to be, skewed in terms of these practices?
For me, I think the places that have more, that pay more, actually does this more. So when it comes to the oil and gas, it's even more deep. That's where you see people pay a lot more. I'm even hearing that some people pay as much as 8 million to even get into CBN. So it just all depends on the area, right? These things are backdoor activities, right? It's not like it's formal from the organizations. So, but when you try to get in, then you meet with the blogger. At that point, you now start saying that, you have to pay this. And by the time you pay this, you get a call. If you don't pay it, you won't get a call.
What's even scarier now is the new information that apart from these places that pay well, which should have some of our brightest and most strategic minds, we also have places that demand heavy professionalism that could literally cost you your life. We're hearing that placements in certain teaching hospitals are now attracting these sorts of payments. Is that something that has become widespread enough for us to be worried about it?
The sad thing is this has been going on for several years. State and federal government hospitals, right? It's been going on for several years. And it's not one, it's not two. Almost every single federal and state hospital these days actually participates in this. It's quite unfortunate. Whether you made first class, whether you made second. Remember, it is not in all cases, right? In every 100, maybe there are 2 or 3 people that get seen without actually having to pay. But most of the people complain exactly about this same thing. And the sad thing is that at this point, even when you pay, it's still not a guarantee. And even when you finally get it, they will still slash your salary. So you're battling a lot of demons trying to be able to work, serve your country.
Now, this last part you mentioned, that even after getting the job, we've been hearing of that, where people get incomplete salaries. Now, we know that coming in, it's smoke and mirrors, backroom meetings, undercover handshakes, brown envelopes. But when you're in the job, in the system, there's a payroll system. How do they still manage to cut people's salaries? And this does not raise any flag. The EFCC has not descended on anybody. ICPC has not opened any cases. How are they able to do this and go on without any issues?
You know, when you come to EFCC and tell them that they're meant to pay you 150,000 and they pay you 70,000, EFCC will not pay attention to you. They definitely want to take on big cases. Somebody stole 100 million, 500 million. And most of the time, if you check the cost of trying to engage EFCC, you rather don't just talk. So most of the time, you see a lot of people rather just cry, try to protest internally and then give up. So most of the time, I usually don't blame them. The truth of the matter is, this is so bad. And at the end of the day, you keep, as a student, you've spent 6 years, 7 years, in some cases 8 years, trying to get a particular degree. And at the end of the day, even with your excellent results, you're trying to get a placement and you realize that you still have to pay. That is why you hear the word school as scam, because that's actually the origin of that. So after everything, so somebody that scored really low, right, who just knows somebody, gets ahead of me, right? So this is basically what happened, and that is why it's important that this thing stop. It happens everywhere. There's a lot of injustice in this, especially in these hospitals. A whole lot of injustice. Students are being treated anyhow. So what's the point of wasting time? That's why any slightest opportunity, they leave the country.
Yeah.
Because the country has absolutely no plan for them. Even the people who are crying of corruption, who have opportunities to be in different placements, they are still the one victimizing a lot of other people too. So it's not really about whether it's politicians or not. This is deeply rooted in almost every public sector that we have in this country.
I mean, and it's a worry. We're hearing that, Nigeria has 70,000 doctors and 16,000 have left. That percentage, people don't look at that percentage to realize that this is a situation where 1 in 3 doctors, or maybe, imagine 1 in 3 doctors suddenly leaving every hospital, every local government primary health care center. People don't really see the impact of these things. Now, let me localize it to the region now, because in the southeast and south-south, you have a lot of people who are, recently, we saw the students who, for some reason, were victims of a glitch, which, again, I have to congratulate you on taking head on and leading the charge that led to the denial of the destiny of almost a whole generation of children who now, even after getting their right results, have definitely lost faith in the system and in their country. So now, these children, many of whom may be from modest homes and have these results, might not make ministers' list and get to the school they want. When they get in, when they come out, what is the fate for them and what can be done? Because they are going straight. Many of them want to go into things like medicine, engineering. What is the fate for them post-university?
One of the things I tell the students is this. It's unfortunate that they are in Nigeria, especially at this time, right? They will do their best. At some point, if you didn't get medicine, maybe due to discrimination or maybe your score genuinely didn't get up to the cutoff, right? There will be options for shopping. Try to shop. And if you shop, you may likely get it. Because the most important thing for them is get into the university. Because at the end of the day, how many people in Nigeria actually practice what they study? So, but getting into the university environment even gives you higher chance of even getting the course, even if you want to write jam, getting the course that you actually desire. So just do every single thing to ensure that you get into the university. And there is a lot of departments that even after admissions, they still have a lot of spaces. So make sure you shop, and if you shop, at least you get it. That's one of the things I normally tell them.
I mean, but when they now get into the university, they finish school, they spend 1 year doing national service, then they have to get into the job market. Now, what needs to happen? I mean, we have governors, we have House of Rep members, we have legislators, we have traditional rulers. What do all these stakeholders need to do to even protect the children from their regions? Because they are not going to be able to protect themselves if the job market is demanding money from them.
The reason why they don't protect them is, one, they are not victim of it. You know how Nigeria works. The only time you see politicians act is when something is directly affecting them. So, but if something is not that, is it a politician's child that will be done begging for a placement in a hospital? It's not possible, right? So because of that, they don't see it, and they will never see it. So if these things don't affect them, forget it, don't expect a change. However, one thing I know, I'm very confident, is this. We will someday get it right in Nigeria. I don't know how soon it's going to be. And once we get the leadership right in Nigeria, a lot of things will change rapidly. Because we need to restore merit, we need to restore justice in the system, and we also need to restore equity. This is basically the bedrock that makes every society succeed. If I'm working hard, knowing that I'm going to be judged by my hard work, it encourages me to work hard. But if I'm working hard, knowing that my hard work doesn't really matter, there's no incentive of working hard. So the whole purpose of going to school, study hard, perform well, do this, the whole purpose of encouraging children to do this is because we are promising them a system that will judge them by merit. But if that system is not there, then what's the point? Why should I go to school? Then the school is calm. Let me just do what others are doing and sort my way out. Or I'll go and learn a trade, which is even better.
I mean, learning a trade, I've always been a big, supporter of apprenticeship, vocational trainings, But again, we're seeing people are not even interested in, an honest day's job, because they've seen what happens to people who go to school, and we see people after 4 years in the university going to start school again in HK to learn to press and do Yahoo. After 4 years in university, we're seeing that on a regular basis. More and more people, we're seeing girls go into hookup, and it's very prevalent in the southeast and south. It's a simple dipstick test. You look at it, and it seems as if everybody's second occupation is HK and as they call it, OS. Now, if people are getting discouraged at this level, do we really have the luxury to wait for the right leadership? Will it not be too late by then? Will we not have lost too many people, and will we not have, had a paradigm cultural shift, and people will no longer even be interested again by the time we're bringing, the right thing to the table?
The thing is that we're actually not waiting for the right leadership. That's the purpose of these conversations. What we're doing basically is intensifying awareness, increasing awareness, intensifying conversations to ensure that we are doing everything within our power. I mean, there are some things you can't change. I mean, if you're not the governor, if you're not the president, if you're not even a minister, there's absolutely things that you can't change. But one thing you can do is to intensify conversations that they will listen to, and it will give them a reason to think again, right? So which is what we are doing. This is what the reason why we are having this conversation. But the most important thing here is this. We need to restore a society where merit is the key, where justice is the key, and where equity is the key. This is the standard. So everybody knows, because tomorrow you may also be a minister. And if you are a minister or you're a governor tomorrow, right? And we're already having this conversation, you already know that this becomes the standard. The most important thing is we want every hard work to count. Why do people go and do all those things that you mentioned earlier? Is that if they commit fraud, it is based on their hard work that they get their earning, right?
Yeah.
every other thing they do. And then they make more money. So they rather do it and sell their conscience. Because Nigeria is all about survival. Right?
Yeah.
I completely don't support it and I will never support it. But this is what the society pushes them to do. But if we start restoring merit and the greater percentage of people make progresses based on merit, a lot more people will be incentivized and will be encouraged to pursue merit, because at the back of everybody's heart, they want to do the right thing.
You know, you said two things that struck me earlier on. One was, people should get in university, because the truth is, how many people really practice what they study? And I agree with that 100%, because the university can expose you to an alternative career. Being in the university environment, you're exposed to other things. And I say this as someone who studied computer science and electronics and is here on set today talking about business on television. But I was exposed to this in the university environment. It was mass communication students who were going to radio stations that I followed and found the interest. And so I know the importance of even understanding and being in that, And there's also the second thing of the politicians. And I want to bring your attention to this and get your opinion. Because while, you were taking on this issue on Twitter, at the same time on Twitter, Mary Amonoha, representing Okigwe Federal Constituency of the housing chairman on debt fund and other services, she posted this on Twitter with pictures. Secured federal employment for constituents into FIRS, National Assembly, Service Commission, and TET Fund. Should a member of the House of Reps be personally securing employment for constituents? Is that proper?
Of course, it's not proper in any way. One of the things, basically what she's trying to do is she's trying to help her own constituents so that she can be re-elected. She's not doing it because she really wants to love the people, just because she wants to use it as a political score so that she can say that she did this for her constituency, and then she will definitely use it as a baseline to seek for re-election. This is absolutely wrong. There's a lot of disarray in the Nigerian system, a whole lot of disarray. That's why we need to correct a lot of things. And people do things and get away with it. Where is merit if those kind of things exist? And she's not the only person doing it. Almost every single person does it. There's no even guarantee that if you become that same thing tomorrow, that you will not do it. So it's really not about people, it's about the system. It's a systematic failure. And that is why we should focus on correcting errors in the system, not in people. We are human beings fully controlled by environment and influence. If she goes to be the same thing in the UK, trust me, she will never do it. So it's really not about her. For me, it's all about the system. That's why we need to start correcting errors in the system. We write WIRE, there's a lot of fraud. We also write JAM, there's very limited fraud. It's the same country, an exam. So they try to make their system ensure that they remove fraud to a great extent. These other people let their own porous. So that is why we need to correct these things. If government set up a system now to say all internship application must go through a federal application based on ranking, the federal does it and then deploys people to the hospitals, automatically you've eliminated that fraud. So the people who does the deployment are not even in the hospitals. The recruitment and the deployment are not even in the hospitals. So if this thing is being done and a special agency, probably set up by the presidency, handles this, nobody even knows who does this, who does it, nobody knows them. Automatically merit will be restored. So you don't need to start advising people, no, just correct the system. Build a centralized system. When you are done, register, request, apply for internship, right? Maybe you can even do an online interview, something you can design based on the standard scoring system. Once everything is done, no problem. Based on your grade and your ranking, we can deploy you to hospitals. We are in charge of all these hospitals. We have a database of all these hospitals, right? So you take away the power of assignment or recruitment from the CMDs in those hospitals and take it to the federal government. Automatically, integrity will be fully restored. Nobody will come and say that I scored this and they took somebody that scored lower because of connection. No, because you don't even know who does that. That's why we need to focus on correcting these things systematically.
You know, now my second worry there is that once you move it away from the hospitals, you've eliminated all the hospital and state level fraud. But we've seen centralized systems like NYSC postings that people still somehow manage to manipulate. At the federal level now, because, you know, the trickle-down, quote-unquote, effect, what can be done, even at that level, to separate the players in the federal government from the system that will handle the recruitment?
You know, sometimes in Nigeria, we want to move from disaster to excellence overnight. But remember, growth improvements are progressive, right?
Yeah.
If we move it from the hospitals to the federal government, we may not eliminate fraud 100%, but probably will be eliminated at least 40 to 60% of it.
Yes.
Which is a very healthy improvement. Then we can now look at better ways to even improve and enhance what we've already done, which can take us a little while to get to 100%. You get my point?
Yeah.
So, because of the fear of what may happen in the federal, if you don't make progress, you will remain where you are, and the error and the corruption will keep eating deeply. So what you need to do is, let's take it away from them and move it to the federal. Let's eliminate those internal corruption first, before we start making other enhancements. I mean, they can give it to a very secret agency nobody knows, right, that handles this. In as much as even with that, there may still be infiltrations. However, I mean, if the government wants to do it, they know how to do it.
When you say if the government wants to do it, they know how to do it, I agree 100%, because we've seen examples where this happens. While we may complain about some things in government, we've also seen a lot of examples where even where there's compromise, things are, done properly. I mean, whether we like it or not, one of the most secure and efficient places that nobody really talks about in Nigeria is immigration at our international airports. If there is any system in Nigeria that is functioning to some satisfaction, immigration at our airports. And even the average Nigerian is very careful what they put in their box. So we know it's not that the government cannot be effective.
And the reason why they do that is because the federal airlines put pressure on them, the international airlines put pressure on them. Because if you didn't do your work well in Nigeria and they find it in Heathrow, it becomes a problem. But one of the days, one of my traveling days, I asked, why are you people doing these things differently? Somebody explained to me that everything they do here also affects, I mean, if you are going to Turkey, if you are going to UK, US, those are agencies, because if you don't do well, they will reduce your rating. Meaning that even if you get to those countries, the scrutiny will be 10 times higher. So because of that, they have to do work here, not because they want to do it, because you can see when coming still in that immigration, you can see the way passport changed. Remember before this new guy came in, to do passports is like miracle, and that's why the highest form of corruption was still in that system. Yeah. You have to leave Lagos to come to Ebonyi because you heard that Ebonyi takes 1 month or 2 months. You have to come there. A lot of things you have to pay a lot of money, do this, do that, just to be able to get your passport. But when this new guy came, he changed everything. You can even apply for passport online, and everything is on order. You can do it very easy. So that's why if they really want to change it, they know what to do. But the point is, if they change it, they have to change it. You know what it means losing doctors in your system, or losing medical professionals in your system. Do you know the amount of damage? No, this is something that has to be changed immediately. But
before I let you go, I have one final thing to ask. we've talked about how, we can mitigate and start the process of eliminating these issues. In the now, is there anything maybe people need to come together to do? Maybe pressure the assembly, maybe make some laws, some immediate guiding laws that maybe can even lead to the fostering of this, because a lot of times I don't expect beneficiaries of something to have the impetus to want to change it. So what kind of pressure now? Because I'm a big believer in, self-responsibility and take responsibility. If I'm aware of this problem, what can I now, as Nnamdi Obanya, what can be my contribution to start the process of putting pressure beyond shining light on it to, help in fostering this change?
That's part of what we're doing now. Like I said, I think maybe these people are under the Department of Health, which is the Ministry of Health, right? They should take away those internship recruitment from the hospitals. Let it be a federal government responsibility. Simple. Well, and even the recruitment and their payment, let them take it away from the hospital. Let it be the federal government responsibility. So that the people, students don't go through hell. The simple thing to do here is very simple. Be the ones to get them, list them, assess them, and then deploy them. So that it's not about, NYSC, yes, there are posting, but at least deployment is relatively based on merit.
Yes.
You hardly ever see somebody being denied of deployment. Well, internship, they don't. So let it be the federal government's responsibility so that these students will stop suffering. Because these hospitals benefit from it, so they will never stop it. So that, for me, that is my clear recommendation. Federal government take over, set up a system and do the deployment. As you're finishing from school, register, or we already have your data. We do assessment and we deploy you to this hospital. If there are no spaces, we know. We know the allotted spaces that every single hospital, state or federal, has. We can even deploy you to private hospitals as well. Because all of them are still in Nigeria and they're still under your ministry. So the ones that are going to private, they will go. The ones that are going to public, they will go. But everything should be done seamlessly. I shouldn't be graduating with the best students in school, not even sure if I'm going to do internship. I'm already at home 2 years without internship. What's the purpose or what's the point of going to school?
This last point you made of also drafting them to private hospitals, and in the case of other employments like engineers and to private entities, is something I think that can be immediately implemented, because we already have the industrial training fund doing that while students are in school, deploying them to both public and private companies. And I think that model is the same students who, when they finish school, will want to go to jobs. So I think for doctors, engineers, health professionals, I actually think that this could be a simple game changer. Since the government is the one going to pay them by themselves, since they are handling everything, it doesn't matter whether in public or private, you'll be paid the same thing.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I think that's a fantastic recommendation, and I think it's something we need to start making a lot of noise about, and probably try to get across to our legislators for those of us who actively do that. And thank you so very much. I'm not going to lie, I was expecting this level of depth on the topic, but I'm still very, very impressed, and thank you so much for being here this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And that's all we can take on the Eastern Business Report. But don't forget, Afia Business Morning is not yet over. Ifuna and Julie, the kid is waiting to take you to meet the traders and products. So till I come your way tomorrow at 10 a.m. when business resumes for the day, I'm Nnamdi Obanya saying have a very, very profitable day.